Salesforce development day 46. Now we'll see today the previous session and we'll talk about few scenarios of the test classes. Now let's say that we have already implemented a auto lead conversion class. So prepare the test class for the trigger, which is auto convert the lead as the customer upon updating the status as a closed converted. So I need to implement a test class for the record that is auto converted. Now, whenever we have already implemented a class for the auto convert, whenever the status is changed to the closed converted, whenever status is changed to the closed converted, then we are going to we have implemented a logic to convert the lead to opportunity, account, and contact. This is the class which we have already implemented. Now, in this case, now I need to implement a test class for this. Now let's copy this file, new Apex class name, test. Apex class name, test. Now, in order to make this as a test class, I need to use @istest. @istest. Now save it. Immediately, there is a run test button will be enabled here. Now it is run test is enabled. In the test class, we need to write a test method. Static test method void. Let's say we are going to test auto lead conversion. When this trigger is going to fire, whatever the trigger that we have implemented, when it is going to fire. Whenever the record is updated, that time we are going to fire the test class, fire the trigger. So as soon as the record is updated, we are firing this trigger. That means I need to implement some logic. That logic has to be there as a after update. Whenever we update it, that time immediately, if I try to execute the run test, immediately it should execute the trigger also. So whenever I'm executing the test class, it should execute the trigger. Now trigger will execute only on the after update. Whenever there is any update is happening on the lead, only that time the trigger gets executed. Now in this case, what I'll do is I'll create a lead here. Create a lead. For this, creating a lead record. Now let's say here lead LD record equal to I'm creating the new instance, new lead. LD record dot first lead equal to I'll say test LD record dot last name test lead record and LD record dot company equal to testing. Specify LD record dot phone number equal to some number I'm specifying it. LD record dot fax equal to And then we have another values LD record dot rating. Field rating is the field, and I'm assigning the value hot. And similarly, industry field, we have it LD record dot industry equal to, let's say, banking. LD record dot annual revenue equal to, I'm specifying some number. Now these are the information which I'm providing, and then I'll insert a record. Insert the record. Insert LD record. Now if I execute in general, if I execute this code, what will happen? Normally, if I execute this code, let's say LD record dot status equal to open hyphen not contacted. Not contacted. Now if I execute this code, what will happen? Is the record get inserted inside the Salesforce or not? If I execute this logic from the anonymous window, let's say here, debug, open execute, I'm executing this. Now what will happen? The record get executed or not? If I execute it from the anonymous window, what will happen? It will execute and the record will be created. Now let's see here, home, and I'll go to the leads tab. In the leads tab, please click on the list view, all open leads. Now click on all the open leads. Now this is a new one which I'm creating. Test we do not have it. Right, so we have it. Only T with Tom James is there. So here I'm creating the test lead record. If I click on it, execute, the record gets created inside the Salesforce. Today's lead. Test lead record is created. But when I'm creating from the test class, let's say that test first name is a class, and then test record class test record. Now here first name is a class, last name is a test record, company is a testing. Now if I try to execute the same one from the test class, whatever we are creating the records from the test class, it will not be inserted inside the Salesforce. It will be inserted inside the Salesforce. Let's take a copy of this. Let's take a copy of this. Whatever the record I'm inserting here from the test class, it will not be inserted inside the Salesforce. Right, so I can insert this. Now let me execute this, run test, add a test method. I need to add test method. So whatever we have, it says that run test. If I click on it, run test, add a test method to your test class. Now I have added the static test method. static test method. At the rate is test, public class name, static. Test method, void, click on it, save. And just click on a run test. It is executed. But is the record is created inside the Salesforce? Let's click on a refresh. So no record is created today, right? So whatever the record we have created, that is already available in the different because we have updated the status. Now in the today's lead, it says that created today, right? So I cannot see any lead which is starts with class. Let me show you here leads. Click on all open leads. If I search here test, I cannot see anything. If I search here class, I cannot see any leads. So that means whatever the record that we are creating it, if we are doing any insert operation or a update operation, any DML operation, if we are performing in the test class, it will not be inserted in the Salesforce. It will not be inserted in the Salesforce. That is only for the specific test class only, right? So you can add here. Now, whenever I executed, is my trigger executed here? No, I executed the trigger. Now click on the code coverage. It says 0%. Everything is a red color. The reason is the trigger will be executed only on the after update. Now, what we are doing in the Apex class, we are doing the insert. We are doing the insert. Now we have to do the update. Let's say here, update. I'm updating the LD record dot status equal to closed converted. And then I'm going to update LD record. Click on save. Now let's execute this. Run test. Now it is executed. How about the trigger? Trigger automatically it is executed and it is 94%. Right? So from the test class, I need not to call specifically to the trigger. Right? I cannot call here bulk lead convert. This is the trigger name. So I need not to call this trigger. Now like this dot, whatever the method is that calling this method, I need not to do all these things for the trigger. Trigger always executes whenever the record is created or updated or any DML operation we are performing it. Based on that, the trigger will be automatically executed. If you want to write a test classes for the trigger, you need to insert. You need to insert a record or update a record or do it any DML operation on the record level. Based on that and based on the event that we have in the after update, based on that, the trigger automatically executes it. Trigger automatically executes. So right now it is a 94% is a trigger. Bulk lead convert account trigger is a 6%. And bulk lead convert is 94%. Out of 9 lines, 18 lines are covered. Now catch exception did not cover. Because if there is any issue while creating it, so whenever there is any issue, then it will go to the catch. Otherwise, it will execute the try. So this is how we will write a test class for the trigger. Let's say I'm going to write a test class for batch class. Now if it is a batch class, now I have a batch class here where we are updating the account record batch. That means I'm putting all the account records here, right? And then I'm looping through all the records and I'm updating here we are doing the updating the active industry rating website and email. If I have to execute it for the batch class, if I have to write a test class for the batch class, how can I write it? And see that. Copy the class name, update account record batch. Click on a file, new Apex class. Let's say update account, record batch and test. Say we are writing the test class. Whenever we write a test class, we need to put annotation at the top of class, which is called @istest. @istest, we call it say. Done. Right, so run test is enabled. So this is converted, this class is converted as a run test. Now, the batch class, what we are doing is we are querying it from the whatever the account information is there, directly I'm querying the information. So what I'll do, querying it and passing to the execute batch. Now in this case, let's go to the test class. Static test method void test batch. Now in this batch class, querying on the account record. That means I need to create a account records in the test class. I need to create a account records in the test class. Let's say that means I need to create a separate method. This is a test method. I'm going to create a separate method. This method is only for the preparing the lead record, like a method for account creation. Right, so public static void create account record. Create account record. Creating a one account record is not possible. I need to create a multiple records. Minimum, I need to create a 10 records. Because batch class is looping list of the S object. And it is going to update all the records here. Let me copy this information. I'm going to create a new account here. Let's say list of account equal to new list of account. For loop integer counter equal to 1. And then I'm going to say one counter less than or equal to, let's say I'm going to create a 10 records and counter plus plus. Now here I'm going to create a each record. Now simply account record, new account, ACC record dot name equal to, let's say, testing account, active equal to, let's say I'm going to update years, and account record, industry equal to banking, and account record equal to, account record rating equal to what, account record website equal to what are the website is there, or you can give it just a blank also. Here I'm going to give something different. Let's say website I'm not creating. Now finally, whatever the records are there, each record I'm going to push it to the account list. ACC list dot add. We are adding the ACC record. We are adding the ACC record. Click on save. Now we are creating the 10 records here. And list. 10 records we are creating it. Now finally I'll check here ACC list, come out of this, and then database.insert. Insert the ACC list, come out. Create a account records. Now I'm going to call this account record from the test method. Call this from the test method, create a account record, and then finally I'll call the batch class. Now the batch class name is update account record. I'm going to call update account record, and let's say C batch BT equal to new. I'm initializing the batch class. Now here BT dot or database dot execute. In the execute we will say BT. Click on save. Database dot execute. Execute batch. Database dot execute batch, and then you need to pass whatever the instances of the declaration we have done it, that name we have to pass it. So basically the object name you have to pass it. Now this is calling the batch class. Now for just to know that what are the records we are getting it, I'll just add a debug here. System dot debug. I'm going to say record list plus record list. Click on save. Let's execute the run test. Test class. Now we have it, is executed. Now if I click on this, now I did not get anything data. Click on this test. No data. Basically, it did not go to the execute batch. Why it did not go to the execute batch? It says that attempt to dereference null object. There is some value which is missing. Let's go ahead and check what is the value is important. trigger also getting executed. What is the value it is missing? Copy this account record and go to the developer console, debug, execute anonymous. Let's execute this. Insert ACC record. Let's change this name. Account. Two, three. Click on execute. Execute. The record is inserted perfectly fine. Counts. Account 234 is created. This is working fine. Now I see the problem is from the trigger. Let's open the trigger because on the account level we have a trigger. Open resource. Account trigger. Now in this account trigger, if industry equal to null, packs it's okay. So we need to enter this data. Website is needed, packs is needed, industry is needed. ACC record dot packs. Let's add some data here. And also ACC record dot website equal to http://www.salesforce.com. Click on save. Now try now. Let's try. Clear. Run test. And it says that attempt to difference. Let's check what is the value. So it is from the batch class. From runtime exception, it is in the email part. Let me do one thing. In the execute batch, we are executing the this is a scheduled batch. Let's take this, execute, and the finish method. In the finish method, send email list. There is the email list. Email list is having a to address. Batch is there. Job details. Let's see the job details. Job details where it is completed successfully. It's a problem. Basically, it's an error in the record ID, total number of batches is 0, error is 0. Let's do one thing. Let me comment out this email part of it. Let's check. I'm assuming that it is going to give a error only in the, it is giving a error here in the email part. Going to say test class and run the test class. And still it is causing the problem. Create account record batch. Value is a null. Which value is a null here? It's saying that trigger account trigger line number 9. In the account trigger line number 9, it says that attempted to dereference. Click on this. What is the line number 9? Account record active checkbox. So active checkbox is the mandatory. If I do not have this active checkbox, okay, so this is basically custom setting. What are the custom settings we have it? That custom setting. What we are doing in the trigger, in this trigger, we have a custom setting which is called as a account trigger. Custom setting which we have in the account trigger. Right, so let me show you that. Click on a setup. And search for a custom setting. Account trigger access. What is the name of it? Account trigger. It's there in the trigger setting. Custom setting called trigger settings. In this trigger settings, we have a manage. In the manage, say this is the account trigger. So if this trigger is yes, that means we need to declare this. We need to declare the custom settings in the trigger, in the test class. So that means in case in the trigger, if we are referring the custom settings here, in case if we are referring the custom settings, now how can I implement the test class? Now one way is to implement a test class. Just add here see all data. See all data equal to true. Now click on this save and run execute. Now it is executed successfully. That means before what was happening is it was trying to get the trigger trigger setting information. What are the custom setting record is there? They are trying to get the custom setting data whenever we are executing the test class. So I'll uncomment the batch class. On save. Again, let's execute the test class. It is working fine. So see all data. see all data will open up for the test classes to view the custom setting information. To view the custom setting information. If you do not write a see all data, now trigger is expecting the trigger. Custom setting. Trigger is expecting the custom setting. So this is the custom settings which we have implemented there. And we refer the custom settings in the trigger in order to switch off or a switch on. Right? So if the trigger is switched off, then do not execute. If it is a switched on, then we should execute the business logic. So these two lines which are referring the custom settings. Now, either you need to say see all data equal to true, or else you need to insert the custom setting here. You need to insert the custom setting. Now, in order to insert the custom settings, now let's take here what you need to do. You need to create a records in the custom settings. Trigger settings. Now, this is one way of implementing the see all data where I can see by default whatever the data is available on the org level, everything can be visible here. Or else what you can do is, let's create a new one, new Apex class, update account record, batch test, batch 1 test. So here I'm going to specify, let's say that copy everything, whatever we have done it, copy this into the new test class. Now I'm going to remove the see all data. See all data, I'm going to remove it. Now here I'm going to create a record inside the custom object. That means what are the custom object is there? Like a custom object, let's say CS equal to, let's initialize the custom object. Now CS dot, what are the fields are available? Active checkbox. Active checkbox equal to, either you can mention false or a true. And CS dot, we have a name. Name equal to, you need to specify the name, account trigger. Specify the name, account trigger. Name equal to account trigger, and then insert. Insert CS. Perfect. Now I have removed the see all data. I'm going to execute it. Run test. It is successful. It executed the trigger because we have inserted the trigger. It executed the trigger. Why business logic is did not execute it? Because we have specified the active checkbox is false. It executed the trigger as well as it executed the batch class. What are the batch class, the email template, everything it got executed. So if you wanted to see the total percentage, you can see the 100% is covered. Or else you can see it here as well. Click on this and check the level of what is the percentage level that it is covered. Right here also it shows 100%. 100% it is showing. So either if you are using the custom settings in the either trigger or anywhere in the batch class, anywhere you are using the while implementing a business logic, if you are using the custom setting, you need to either declare a custom settings in the, that means you need to initialize the custom settings in the test class, or else specify the see all data, or else specify the see all data. Either you can specify see all data, or else create a simply a record in the test class. Then it will try to execute the entire logic. Questions so far in the test classes? Let's move on. If it is a future method, how can we write a test class for the future method, which will create the hiring manager record inside the object? Now we have a future method. So assume that this is a future method. This is a mixed DML operation. Mixed DML operation where I'm querying the user and creating the contact record here, right? So contact, we are updating the user record as well as we are inserting the hiring manager record. We are updating the user record, that means user is deactivated, and we are creating the hiring manager record. This is the mixed DML operation. Now for this mixed DML operation, how do you write it? It's the same thing, whatever we have implemented in the trigger class. Let's say here, in order to implement, first you need to write @istest. @istest public class. Whatever the class name is there. Now this is a future class. And at the end, you can specify the test. Now, after that, static test method, void. Let's say I'm going to implement a test future method. Test future method. And you can directly call the future method. Now we have a future method here. I can simply call the future method dot call the mixed DML operation. No need to call this, create a HR record, because create a HR record is called from the mixed DML operation. Copy this dot mixed DML operation. It's not expecting any parameter, and simply call this. Now this is how you can call the future method. But in this future class, I'm using the user. That means user I'm querying it. That means what I need to do, I need to implement another method here. Public static void. Public static void. I'll say create new user. Create new user. For this creating the new user, I need to declare it. That means I need to initialize the user equal to new user. User equal to new user. And I'm going to say here us.name. You need to declare all these things. Name equal to sample. Name equal to sample. Last name equal to, you can give anything. So this is the assignment. So you need to create a new user, right? Call this new user from the static test method. Call it from here, right? Now you need a profile here, right? You need a profile information. You can directly query the profile information here. You will get the profile information, get the query of the, what are the output of the profile. Let's say here I'm going to specify here US dot profile. Either you can hard code the value. If you want to hard code the value, profile ID, go to the any user here. Let's say users. To the users. When this user details, and here we have one of the profile. Now copy this profile. Back to the developer console. Either you hard code the value profile ID equal to the ID, or else what you can do is us dot profile ID. us dot profile ID equal to select ID from profile where name equal to system admin. Either you can do this also. Hard coding is a cause the problem because this is one or you are hard coding it. So if you move these changes to the another or, what will happen? It will fail because that ID will not be available in the another or. So it is better to do the query. Select ID from profile where name equal to system admin, assign that profile to the profile ID and insert the user record. So once this is done, call this method from the static test method. Call this method from the static test method. And then call the future helper class. So this is the assignment. Now, similarly, we have a queuable class also. Queuable class. Queuable class is also same. So if it is a queuable, now here in this case, the logic that we have implemented, the business logic is we are directly inserting the hiring manager record. We are directly inserting the hiring manager record. Now in this case, how can you write? You need not to initialize anything in the test class. File, new, Apex class name, test, click on OK. Specify @is_test. @is_test. And this is the class name, static test method, void, let's say test queuable. And I'm going to specify the hiring manager, this queuable class name. In order to call the queuable class name equal to, we need to initialize a queuable. And simply I'll say here HR dot execute. So while executing it, we don't need to pass anything here. It is expecting the parameter. I'm just passing the null. Click on save.
Method.
Right. So simply call this because we are not doing anything in the Apex class. It's just a straightforward. If I try to execute this, is successful and executed without any error. If I go back, it executed all the lines. It is executed. So that's how we will write the test log. So it's a basically what you need to do is two things you need to cross verify when you are writing the test class. The first thing is that do I need to initialize? That means do I need to create any records? Create or a update or a delete any object records. If yes, then you need to create it in the test class. If no, you do not need it. Directly you can call it. Right? And then second thing you need to make sure that you are using the test.start test. Start test and test dot Stop test. The third one is system.assert. System.assert or a assert equals system.assert equals or system.assert not equal. System.assert not equal. This has to be used in the test class. So these are the three things which you need to consider. So what we are using it, and in the class based on that, what is the logic needs to be implemented. Am I calling the custom settings or a records querying? If we are querying it, that means we are need to create a records or a update a records in the test class. Any questions on the test class? No. First one is we have Apex best practices. Let's go through the Apex best practices. Bulk Apex. Any code you are writing it, make sure that you are bulkifying the code. Make sure you are bulkifying the code. And you need to avoid the SOQL and DML inside the per loop. Do not write the SOQL or a DML inside the loop. Now query the large data sets. Querying the large data sets. So based on the requirement, like if you need, if you think that okay, all the records are not needed, then put the limit condition and proper where conditions, or else you can query the large set of data. Use the map of object. Most of the times, always use the map of object whenever you are coding in the Apex. Always store the data into the map of S object if it is necessary. And use the limits in the Apex method. That means whenever you are querying the SOQL query, so if you do not use the limits, you will see that too many SOQL queries 101 error, or else you will see that DML rows are 1001, and you will see that too many query rows 5001. Like this, you will be seeing this. So always make sure you focus on the limits whenever you are using the SOQL and DML. Always check the DML and SOQL as per that implemented logic. So never cross the limits. So that means you need to always cross verify when you are pushing the data. Before pushing the data, you need to cross verify all these best practices in the Apex. And next one is the security and sharing in the Apex code. Now provide the secure and sharing Apex code and make the reusability of the Apex code. And next one is code coverage. Make sure that every class should have a code coverage. Every class should have a code coverage. Now you can see right now we have implemented the test classes. Now if you go to the Apex class, let's go to the Apex class. Almost for the two classes we have implemented the test classes, right? So if you go to the Apex classes, now click on this estimate. Now it says that before it was a 0%. Now it says that 18%. Like that, you need to cross 75% of the overall. Right now we have a overall code coverage is 18%. To deploy the production, overall it should be 75%. Overall it should be 75%. and return early pattern. That means whatever if you need an early pattern or a late pattern, usually we will go for a whatever we have seen so far, it's an early pattern. And avoid nesting loops within the loops. Don't put them more than one loop. Like if you have a loop and within that one more loop, if you want to put it, you can put it, but do not go for every time using the loop within the loop within the loop like that multiple loop. Do not use it. So nesting loop will cause the performance issues. Do not mix Apex and process builder workflows and record trigger flow. So whenever you are implementing on a single object, if you are implementing a Apex and process builder and workflows and record trigger flow, everything you are implementing on a single object. When you implement all the logic in that means all the possibilities, Apex, process builder, workflows, record trigger flow, everything we are implementing on a single object. So logic is there. So if you are keep on using the same logic in the process builder, same logic in the workflow, same logic in the record trigger flow, in that case, system gets confused. And make sure the naming convention is proper for the Apex. And set up the code review, checklist, and code review process. Every time, make sure that before pushing to the production or any other or just make sure that you have a proper code review in the code review happened for your class. And Apex performance. Always check your Apex performance. Right, so it is important. So that's all for today. We are done with today's class.